How to make tables in fillable forms using Adobe InDesign and Acrobat. Hey guys, Kerry Hawkins here with another VectorMade.com tutorial, and in today's tutorial we're going to talk about how to create tables in Adobe InDesign. So here I've got an InDesign document open of 8.5 by 11 here. Grab your type tool and then just come over. I'm going to use this 1/2 inch margin and start right here by clicking on that corner and dragging all the way to the next corner to create a text box. And I'm going to come over here to table and say insert table. And then it's going to ask for how many dimensions I want, and I'm going to just put in 50 rows and 5 columns. Let's actually make that 25 because 50 is probably going to be too many. And I'll hit OK, and that will automatically populate this inside of your text box. And the reason why you want to do that text box to width and height is because it will use that to whatever width you just made to distribute these columns evenly. So once you're in something like this, you can come in here with your text tool and play around with things. So if you want to select just one column or just one row, there are these arrows on the edges. As you hover your mouse near the edge, you will get those arrows, and then you can click and drag if you want to select multiples like such. Also, after you select something like this, you can come up here to the options that should pop up here at the top, and you can change this to at least or exactly. I usually leave it on at least. Don't see much of a reason to use exactly most of the time. And then you can change, this would be the height of those. So if we bump this up, eventually we'll get to, yeah, there it is. It's at least 0.375 or 3/8 of an inch. And then the same thing with the width here. This is 1.5 inches, and all of these would be 1.5 inches. But let's just say this one, you wanted to keep this one 1 inch, and this one was going to be 2 inch, and this one would be 1/4 of an inch, and this one will be 2 3/4, something like that. Other things that you can do are you can also, like after you've selected, you can also change the space around your data that's input in each one of these, and I'll show you what that looks like after we type something in. Let's just put something in like items and amount and I don't know, let's just do tax or something like that. So with these, if you want to change the font, just select the cells that you want to change, and they automatically go with Minion Pro, but let's just choose Helvetica and do a simple Helvetica font, Roman. And there we go. There's other options too, like you can align to the top, which they already are, or you can align to the center, and you'll see how it aligns to the center of the cell or the bottom of the cell. So there's a couple of options like that. You can also align to center this way, just like you would justify a paragraph. So you could do it that way, or do some of these, which would matter more if like you had multiple lines of text. But there's several options here. And if you want to as well, when you've got these selected, you can change a fill and stroke color. So here's my fill. I could make it, let's just go cyan. There you go. And then the stroke color you could change to, let's just go with magenta for now, just to see what the difference is. And if I zoom in really close, you can see there's the magenta, which looks terrible, but hey, there it is. If you want to only change part of the stroke, so like here I can change how thick the stroke is, but also in here, if you click on each one of these sections, you will select or deselect them. So it's kind of challenging to be perfect on this. Like you have to be very precise with your mouse clicks, so it can get really annoying. But there you can see nothing is selected. Here you can see I just selected the left side. So if I want to, I can change the color of the left side, or I can change the thickness of the left side, and it will only affect this side. See? Hopefully that is viewable. I'm going to go to preview mode so you can see it a little bit cleaner without those margin lines. So sometimes you want to do something like that, but just know that's how you get it done. And if you select, I'll show you this. Here's what it looks like if you just select one row and multiple columns. But if you select multiple rows, you'll also get this one in the middle. So that one will change the stroke that's in between cells on a horizontal here. So just know that that's how it works. As long as you select more than one row or one column, you'll see that split. See the difference here? You'll see the X and Y split. If you need to add or delete, you simply can select a row or a column and right click and then hit insert. You can insert row, insert column. Let's just do a row, and you can say above or below, and then here's the number that you would insert, and let's just say 5, and there you go. It highlights the 5 that we just inserted. The others are going to be probably, yeah, down below here. So let me just back up a step and do the same thing. Right click and hit delete. You can delete this row, or you can delete a column. If you want to resize things and you don't want to necessarily come up in here and input directly, but you want it to be visual, you can just grab your selection tool here, and then I just double click to get inside, and you can click and drag on these parts here. So you'll see that, like, if I do that, let me go back to view normal, it's going to drag this way out there. So just know that, like, as you drag on the inside, it's probably going to affect the width of your outermost columns. Same thing with your rows. But that's a quick, easy way to size things up visually if you're not entirely sure what the measurement needs to be in the end product. But I tend to go with the measurements instead because it's just more precise. You see it's 4.5131 inches. Well, that's not very precise at all. I kind of like things to be nice and crisp. So I don't tend to size things that way very often. But if you want to change the font color, let's just select this entire row. You can do that over here under color and hit T, and that will give you an option to, you can go here into CMYK and change whatever you want to do. Or you can just slide it down, make it white instead of black. So that's one way to do it. The other thing would be to finish something out like this. Let's say that you want this to be, you want there to be calculations after you export this out as a PDF. You would like to be able to send this to clients, or maybe your clients' customers if you're making it for another business. And they want to be able to input things here. So either like an employee form where they fill out amounts, or you know, something that they would send to their customers that would have like feedback or something of that nature. And you want to have all of these forms fillable. So I will export this out and show you how to do that in Adobe Acrobat. So I'm going to go Control E to export, and I'm just going to drop it on the desktop and just call this form. And I exported this out as an interactive PDF. It doesn't really matter if you do that or not. But then this gives you some options to, say, open in full screen mode if you want to, and other things here. I usually don't check anything in here, but that's up to you. Just wanted to let you know there are some options here, some compression options if you have some pictures and you need to make it lower resolution and keep the size down. Also, here's the quality of those JPEGs. So there's a lot of options here to keep the size of your file down. But usually I don't really do very much. Here's require a password if you need that. If it's going to be a form that you definitely don't want strangers getting into, you would put that here and then input the password, obviously telling your clients or customers what that password would be if they need it. But I'm just going to hit export everything in the default setting. There we go. It popped up for me. I'll go ahead and drag this over here so you can see. And there is our form. All right. Now, what's really cool about Acrobat is that you can automatically fill in all of these. All you have to do is come over here to Search Tools and start typing in the word prepare. I only put in prep, and there it is, prepare form. You will click on prepare form, and if it requires a signature, you know, you should probably click that. If not, just hit start, and it will fill in automatically a lot of rows. Now, it's not perfect. You'll see it didn't fill out any of this over here. I wanted to do it that way just so you would see that this is not perfect. It put one up here for some reason, but it didn't put any down below, and it didn't put any in this column either. So here's what automatically generated, and these are great, I think. They're perfect. But the rest didn't work out. So we'll have to go in and add our own. Now, another thing you'll want to pay attention to is the order. So here over on this side, it'll say fields under page 1. Every field will be, because we only have one page. And you'll see the name items row 1 right here, amount row 1, taxes row 1. Well, that's a good order. We want that. So what happens with this order is as you're filling it out, and I'll hit preview so you can see, you will be in here and fill that out. And if you hit tab, you'll go to amount. If you hit it again, taxes. The next time you hit tab, items. So we want it to kind of go in this pattern typically for people that use tab. So you'll just want to make sure that all of your forms are, and let me get back into there with prepare, that all of your forms are in the right order. And so far they are, but we're going to disrupt that because we're going to add a whole bunch of new ones over here. And to add a new form, I'll show you what you do. Click on add a text field up here, and it's pretty simple. You can just click if you want to, and it will put one in that's exactly that size, or you can zoom in a little bit, and if you want it to get closer to the size of this other box that's in the same row, you can do that. Now I'm just clicking and dragging to hold it out, and then release once I get to where someplace that makes sense, like right there. And then I would name this, you know, whatever this column needs to be named. Let's just say column 4-1. And actually, I'm probably going to do this without spaces, and I'll tell you why in a bit. So column 4-1, just like that. And there you go. So where is this one over here on the tabs menu? It's at the very bottom. That's definitely not where you want it. We want it right after taxes row 1. To reorganize, you just click and you drag. And if there's a lot of them, you'll have to drag up here and scroll through the list, which there are quite a few. And then just drop it right under taxes row 1, and you'll see column 4-1. Boom. So you'd have to create a new one and do that on every single one of these. Again, sometimes Adobe does a great job of auto-filling it in. I mean, at least it did this much and saved me, about 60% of the work. But it doesn't always do that. And it would help if I'd put a title up in here. It would probably auto-generate it better. But I wanted to show you what that looks like so that you know how to actually put this stuff in yourself. Other things that you can do while you have these text areas available is you can double click on them. That will bring up your text field properties. Here you can rename them, and I usually just keep them as they are unless it doesn't make sense, right? So items row 1, items row 2 makes perfect sense. I'm going to leave that. But if this were to say something incorrect for whatever reason, then I would just come in here and rename everything. Just don't have any spaces in here, and that will play into calculations later. Under appearance, this is going to be like if you want a different font size. Auto will just adjust the font to the width and height of the cell that it's in. So oftentimes I'll come back later and change the appearance of multiple fields so that they are uniform looking, because I don't really want big fonts and small fonts. So you might end up just clicking on here and changing it to 12. Helvetica's fine. Click here if you need to change the text color, but black on white's always great. That's going to be just fine. Position, I don't usually mess with this one very often. Yeah, I can't even think of a time I've ever really messed with it. Options is something that is typically I'm going to mess with. Alignment, probably left align for most things that are here. Maybe for amount, I actually might right align because I like to have the cents all over on the same side, dollars and cents aligning with each other. Default value would be for if you don't want to always input something, like if you know that typically this first item is going to be, a certain item, then you would just put that in here and type in, volleyball, something like that. And you would know that, okay, item 1 is almost always a volleyball, and you could still change it later, but the default value would be set to that, for instance. Probably makes a little bit more sense with amounts or things like taxes that are going to be like a set value from time to time, or any other field that's like typically going to be a certain way. Actions I don't typically do either. This gets into a little bit more nuance that probably don't have time for in this tutorial. Format I think is pretty important. This can be for like if you're going to set a number. Obviously I can't do it on this one because I've already typed in some text. Let's just move on to this amount and we'll say number. So in number, it'll ask for how many decimal places. Obviously I'm going to be doing a dollar amount, so 2 is great. Separator style, if you need to change that. Comma works just fine for me, but if you don't want the commas, you can do that. If you have a different preference here, I'll also have a couple options. Currency symbol, I would go with dollars for here, but obviously there's several different currency symbols that you can use if you're using something other than US dollars. And then symbol location before or after, because some currencies put the symbol after the amount. And then show parentheses would be like for negative numbers, instead of having a negative sign, they would have parenthetical. And then there's red text. That's another way to show a negative number if you want to do it that way. But we'll just hit OK. And if I hit preview again, let's say volleyball, and let's just say it's $53.26. There you go. It automatically puts the dollar sign in for me. All I have to do is input the amount. Pretty cool. Now, let me go back in here. I actually pressed the wrong button. Prepare yet again. Taxes. Let's just say I'm going to click on this one. We're going to do a calculation. So we're going to do value is, and we're going to actually we can't do that. Let me do something else. We're going to go simplified field notation. You can do quite a bit through this value is. You can do sum, product, average, minimum, maximum, and then just pick the fields that you're going to use that are already in your form here. But if you need to use a different number, then you can't do that. Or if you need to divide or subtract, you'll have to do it in a simplified field notation. So I'll hit edit. And basically what I'm going to want to do is just multiply this amount times a tax percentage. And that'll be my example. So we'll say this is called amount row 1. Make sure there are no spaces. Go ahead and times sign, which is the little asterisk. So I hit shift and 8 to get that. And then I'm going to have it multiply times a percentage. So let's just say 8%. That's a pretty common tax amount. So I'll go 0.08 that we're going to be multiplying times. And I'm going to hit OK because 1 would be 100%. So 0.08 is 8%. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm also going to go back to format and say number and 2 and currency looks great. Hit close. Now I'm going to hit preview. So there you go. It automatically changes this based on that calculation. So let me just put in, let's say it's $12.25. Boom, your tax is 98 cents. So let's just consider this. Oh, and I keep hitting the wrong button. Prepare. I keep meaning to hit edit and I hit close. Let's pretend like this column here is, let's click on it, a calculation as well. And we'll say number, leave everything as 2 decimal and currency. I'm going to hit calculate. And we're going to say that it's a sum, just like that. So value is a sum. We're going to add this amount and that amount to get a total, okay? And I'm going to check amount row 1, which is, let's see if we can find it. Amount row 1, check that one. And then go find taxes row 1, which is taxes row 1. Say okay. Now it should do both of them. So here we go. Let's do preview again. This automatically updates to the sum of this plus this. So if I change this over here to, let's just say 22.25 and then get out, it automatically updates the tax based on this and then adds the 2 together. So you have a grand total. If say you wanted to come back later and title this, you've got items, amount, taxes, and you need this to say total. You can come in here and just put in a text and just type it in, say TOTAL, and then maybe move it around so it kind of matches roughly what you got. This is the checkmark tool right here. If you click on it and come over here, you'll see you get a nice preview square. And I would just say, instead of clicking and dragging to fill this area, why not just click once and let it be what it's going to be? And then you can name it something if you need to, come into the properties if you need to. If it's already default, checked by default, that would be under options. Export value, probably yes. It doesn't really matter in this case unless you're going to do a calculation with it somewhere else. But most of the time, if you're going to do a check mark, it's really just something to note for your employee or your customer or what have you. So if we hit preview, you'll see that, again, this will automatically update to whatever I type in here and add the total. And if you needed a check mark section, like somebody was going to go through this and say, yeah, that's validated, click, and you click on the check mark. That's all there is to that. I'll hit edit. The radio button is used for this, and so like I'll make one, and sure, choice 1, group 6, that's fine. Add another button. Okay, and let's just add another button to make 3. And let's go to properties and see if there's anything I really need to do in there. I think I'm good. Choice 3, yeah, that's about right. If it's automatically going to just say choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. If you need to actually name them, that's where you would name them. You'd have to go into each one of these. So this is button 3, says choice 3 under options. If I go in here, choice 2. If I go in here, choice 1. But you can change those there. You might need to change the value for various reasons. Again, if you're doing like a more complicated calculation somewhere. But let's just preview what that looks like. So let's say you had some information filled here and you needed to pick one of these 3. And you said, all right, it's this one. Well, you could always change it to that one or this one. But it's only one at a time. See, that's the difference between doing a check mark, which I can do multiple times for as many checks as I need. I could actually check this and then this and this and this individually or not. But with these radio buttons, it's only one at a time. So this is going to be for more like multiple choice scenarios. You can also do, I'll just do this last one, which is a drop-down menu. There are other options here too, but I'm not going to go through all of those today. This one is a drop-down menu, and so let's just put it in here for fun. And drop down, and let's go to options. And let's just put in, let's say option 1, and then hit add. Option 2, and then hit add. Option 3, and hit add. And the other thing you can do too, you can put in a value with those if you need to. Again, this would be for like if you're doing a calculation based on a drop down. So if 1 needed to be a value of 1, you would put 1 here. If 2 needed to be a value of 2, 2 goes there. If 3 is 3, then put 3 in there, and see, you'll see that that would be the value of selecting option 3. Only really needed if you're going to do a calculation with it, but I just wanted to show that as well. So preview, you'll get a little option here. You can click and drag which one of these that you need. Click on those. There you go. Pretty simple, basic stuff. So that's the basic tutorial, guys. And if you want to, let me just run one more thing to show you. Edit preferences. If you want to be able to see these fields a little bit better, like to actually tell where they are, you can click this show border hover color for fields, and then hit OK. Boom. Now you're going to see where each one of these fields is. And you can see where they aren't, right? We don't have any fields here, don't have any fields here. So that's kind of nice when you're developing these, just so you don't lose track of where they are, and when you're in preview, especially, because in edit mode, you can see all of these anyway. But if you're in preview mode, you're going to lose those if you don't have that checked. So that's just one more hot tip for you guys. So hey guys, that's the tutorial. This obviously didn't go through everything that you can do in these, but I just wanted to give you like a basic view of building a form in InDesign and then exporting it out to Acrobat as a PDF and using some of these tools to start building these forms. And obviously, if you guys want me to expand on that in the future, leave a comment down below and I'll gladly do that. In the meantime, check out this other video over here, and I will see you guys in the next video.